Well, Mongolia is famously known as the birthplace of Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire from the 13th and 14th centuries. But increasingly, it's also being recognised as a business hub, particularly in the mining sector. And because of its close proximity to China and other large commodity consumers, some analysts say Mongolia's resource sector has the potential to dwarf other developed markets. And so far, it's already snapping at Australia's heels. To look more closely at what business opportunities Mongolia offers, I spoke earlier to Travis Hamilton, Managing Director of Khan Investment Management. Travis Hamilton, welcome to the program.
Whitney, thank you very much for having me.
So, what initially attracted you to setting up business in Mongolia?
I think Mongolia certainly represents a phenomenal investment opportunity, which was first highlighted to me in 2006 when I had the good fortune to actually meet Robert Friedland, the CEO of Ivanhoe Mines. And whilst I spent a lot of time investigating the opportunities in Mongolia, I couldn't find really an appropriate investment vehicle that I wanted to place my own capital into. The options were very limited. And one was either really restricted to either buying Ivanhoe Mines at that point in time, or alternatively looking at private equity placements. So I decided to go ahead and actually create an investment vehicle that provided investors with some liquidity and is able to access the growing economy in Mongolia.
Okay, so your company is Khan Investment Management, and you've got the Khan Investment Fund. What have been the challenges to setting up in a new sort of environment like Mongolia?
Look, fortunately, Mongolia is actually very business friendly, and they're very, very welcoming to foreign investment. In fact, the economy to date remains heavily dependent on foreign investment for the government to achieve their development and growth ambitions. So that was not too challenging at all. What has been challenging actually in terms of managing an investment vehicle that provides its investors with liquidity is the fact that the local market is still very, very small. It has a total market cap of less than $1.6 billion. And it's very, very thinly traded. So we have some liquidity issues with regards to the local market, but beyond that we actually see an incredible number of opportunities to invest in Mongolian companies or companies that have significant operations or assets in Mongolia that are listed on international exchanges.
And Mongolia is one of those places that really is still off the radar to a large extent. Are you finding, though, that investors are becoming more attuned, the market's becoming more aware of it as a place of opportunity?
Unquestionably, international interest in Mongolia is really beginning to intensify, and I think that's only going to increase throughout the course of 2012. A couple of really big milestones this year is going to be the public offering of Tavan Tolgoi. Tavan Tolgoi is arguably the world's largest coking coal deposit, with estimated reserves of 7.5 billion metric tons of coking coal, about 240 kilometres from the Chinese border. And in addition to that, we're going to see production begin at Oil Tolgoi. And Oil Tolgoi is the Ivanhoe Mines Rio Tinto gold and copper mine, also very close to the Chinese border, which is arguably the world's largest underdeveloped copper and gold mine. And it's expected that they're going to be producing all within 6 months and exporting copper concentrate to China before the end of the year. So those two very significant milestones is really going to intensify international interest in this nascent market.
And obviously, as you mentioned, they're mining. It's a big part of the opportunities in Mongolia. But what are the other sectors that are, sort of there that investors can tap into?
Look, it's an economy, or rather a country, that has massive resource endowment, but it remains incredibly infrastructure poor. So we see huge opportunities for infrastructure development, but beyond that, it's a growing consumer market. We like consumer staples opportunities in Mongolia. We have a significant position in a company there already. Building materials is one way we like to play the growing economy. The demand for concrete and for cement is it's ginormous. There is a building boom going across Ulaanbaatar, but beyond that, the infrastructure required across the country, from roads, rail, airport, actual mine site development, is huge. Tavan Tolgoi that I mentioned earlier, the coking coal deposit in South Gobi, they need to build a new city to house 60,000 people before they can even start to develop that mine. At the moment, there's nothing there. I mean, it is the Gobi Desert.
Do you think that Mongolia's mining sector, given its close proximity to China and other countries in the north has the potential to dwarf other industries, other mining industries, say like in Australia?
Look, I think that is a real possibility. And in fact, in June of 2011, for the first time, Australia lost its mantle as the top coal exporter to China. Mongolia surpassed Australia in the first half of last year as the largest coal exporting country to China. I think that trend is unquestionably going to continue. The only impediment at the moment preventing China from acquiring more of its natural resource demands from its northern neighbour is that lack of infrastructure. And as soon as that infrastructure is in place, they will certainly acquire a lot more coal, iron ore, copper from Mongolia. And in the event of a downturn in China, which personally I think that the fears of a hard landing in China are vastly overblown, but certainly if there was a slowdown in China, I think it is unquestionably going to be those seaborne assets from Australia, from Indonesia, from India, going into the Chinese economy that are going to be hit first.
Now, Travis Hamilton, we're talking about a lot of development in a largely undeveloped country. Mongolia is headed to federal elections in June. Are you seeing any opposition to direct foreign investment into Mongolia?
There's a very small nationalist minority that's quite vocal. They have received a number of headlines over recent months. However, the two major parties, the Mongolian People's Party and the Democratic Party of Mongolia, are going to, they're both members of the coalition government that ruled over the last 4 years. It's going to be a closely fought and highly contested election. Fortunately, though, we don't see, as a foreign investor looking to place additional capital into the economy, we don't see any significant policy shift, regardless of who actually wins.
Does this issue, sorry to interrupt you there, but does this issue
Sure.
actually play a role in the, is it playing a role in the political sort of realm? Is it being talked about much?
Look, it is. Although, I was just in Ulaanbaatar last week. I spent 2 days at the Mongolian Economic Forum, which is a bipartisan forum. Both major political parties were there, and it was a forum to discuss strategy for the country moving forward. Everybody in Mongolia realizes, there is a strong consensus that the economy is dependent upon foreign investment, for the next several years in order to fund their development and growth. The government coffers will start to fill once Oil Tolgoi and Tavan Tolgoi, the two large mining projects, once they're into production, then the government certainly will become self-sufficient and it's going to become an incredibly wealthy country. At the moment, GDP per capita is estimated to be just over $3,000 US. The estimation by the Mongolian People's Party is that within 20 years, that will surpass $65,000 per capita GDP, which is obviously extraordinary, phenomenal growth.
Indeed it is. Travis Hamilton, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Whitney.